Welcome back, everybody, to Ep.3 of our eBay reselling journey. I'm John, that's Devin, and we're the Severe Thrifters. All right, you guys remember from last episode, episode 2, we talked about pricing your items for eBay. Well, today we're going to ask the question, how much do you sell it for? That's the topic we're going to cover today. And it's actually a pretty large topic because there's so many different variables and parameters. We could go on and on all day. So we'll try to keep it simple. I do know that when I first started, pricing was probably, other than pricing, shipping was probably the most difficult. But pricing was a big one because just because you have something in your house that you remembered you paid $100 for doesn't mean that you can list it on eBay and get your $100 back.
Yeah.
There's potential that it's worth more, but then there's also potential that it's worth way less. So do you want to chime in on that?
No, I mean, I just agree.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's good. And the reason I asked you is when you first started with because you started before I did, learning how to price, let's just say, your glassware. What were you doing to get your pricing right off the bat before we actually learned more about eBay? What were you doing?
Well, I actually used eBay's little camera feature to where you could take a picture of stuff. And then I would go to, it'd pull up a bunch of whatever. People were asking, $80, $90. And then obviously I knew that wasn't real. I mean, they're not going to get $80, $90 for a piece of glass. I went to I guess it's like a filter or sort button.
It's the filter.
And then you'll go down to sold items and completed items. It checks both of them. If you check one of them, you hit refine. It brings it up to all the sold items. I guess if is it with last 90 days? Is that how they do that?
Typically, yeah, they'll do 90 days. They have a 6 months. But I do know, you're right, that if you go to the filter, you'll see, if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see sold items, completed items. Typically, once you press the sold item button, the completed items will highlight as well, correct?
Yeah.
And I know you can toggle one off and on. You can do just completed, but if you do sold, it does completed both automatically.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And I think typically the very first items that you see once you click those and it does its search are like the ones that have sold most currently, right? Okay. I mean, it starts like something that sold today would be your very first thing that you see. So you were using that, obviously. Then you knew to do what we call sold comps. Then you kind of knew at that point.
Yeah. And we just started checking everything with that. Because I think at first I actually started just looking at like the listings itself, and I was like, these aren't realistic. Because some people were selling stuff for crazy amounts of money. But that's not how much people are willing to pay for it. That's just how much you're willing to ask for it.
Right. And so if you guys are listening, you can go onto eBay and you can do a search. If you're looking up, let's use something that we're both familiar with.
Yeah, well, I mean, we could use, we'll say,
something that we've sold lately, either one of us. How about the Revereware? Because we talked about that.
Yeah.
We talked about that. I just picked up a couple at a thrift store yesterday. So, yeah, we'll talk about Revereware.
Okay.
There's a brand of pots and pans called Revere, R-E-V-E-R-E, Ware, W-A-R-E. And it's made, most of it's got like a copper clad bottom, so you'll see like the bottom looks like copper. And a lot of them were made in Clinton, Illinois, so they're made in the USA. They're a really good pot and pan, like good quality, especially with that copper clad bottom. Right now I have a saucepan, it's a 1-quart saucepan listed on Severe Thrifters on eBay. You would typically do, most people, because you sold a piece already, right?
Yeah.
If you're new to eBay, the first thing you're going to do is you flip the pan over, and you see that, it's called Revereware. So you type that in your search, right? And then you look at your size, which mine was 1 QT, so 1 quart. You type that in. And most people, we've done this in the past as well. You click search, and you just start seeing all the 1-quart saucepans from Revereware that are for sale. Now, the problem with that, and you know this now too, is you'll see prices all over the place on there. Anywhere from $5 to $60 for a pan. This is why we're talking about what we're talking about today, because it can kind of be misleading, don't you think? I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah, because if you look at the $5 one, you're like, well, it's got to be worth more than that. And then you look at an 80 and you're like, oh man, I've got an $80 pan. Yeah. It's that, if you have a range from $5 to 80, it doesn't help you much. No. It just doesn't, because where do you put your pan at? $40?
Yeah.
Which still might be too high.
Yep.
And I think there's a lot of different variables, like I talked about earlier about the variables and the parameters. You have things that you can put on as an auction. You have things that you can put on as an auction, and your first bid, you set the price at what that bid price can be instead of 99 cents. Say you want to sell one of these pans for a 7-day auction, but you want to make sure the lowest price that you'll get for it, say, is $19.98. Okay,
yeah.
So you can create that first bid at $19.98.
Yeah, I wish I would have done that when I first started, because I think I listed a Revereware copper bottom pressure cooker and just sold it the other day. I mean, nice pressure cooker, brand new. It was in the box still.
Oh man, and it was Revereware.
Yeah, sold it. I think I sold it for 99 cents just the other day because I just never knew how to put it in there for a certain amount of money. Like, I never knew you could do a buy it now. When I think we were both kind of talking about it when I first started. We were like, let's just do auctions and see how much we can get for it. Well, things with auctions is if you get 99 cents and no one else is interested in it, especially if you have more like thrift store type items or stuff that you can get at flea markets and stuff, only a few people are actually looking up to try to find those things. Auctions are for things that everyone is interested in right now. That's something that you can sell for a lot of money. If you have an item that probably 30 people would be interested in buying, that's when you want to auction it, because that's when you can get the most for it. Kind of like all these car auctions. They're going to get the most money for it because they're getting a bidding war. Like, 2 people really want it. The price is going to skyrocket. Even if the car is only worth $80,000, they could sell for $120,000 because 2 people really want it. So auctions are only if you have something that everyone wants, or at least 2 people
right now
really want. Exactly.
Right now. Yep.
Buy it nows, and maybe even an auction that you can set a price to would work. I prefer buy it nows now. Looking back at it, I wish I would have done it with everything because I could have made a lot more money. Probably quadrupled my money on each item, because I've sold a lot of items for 99 cents with they pay shipping, and I've made like, I don't know, $2 on it or something like that.
Right.
You know, and that's nothing compared to what I could have gotten $20, $30 for the pressure cooker.
Right.
You know, I could have sold that for probably $20
easily. Yeah.
And I mean, they were listed on there for $21 to like $50.
Right. The pressure cookers are big money.
Yeah, and it was like brand new, really good condition. But I mean, posted on there for 99 cents, I was like, oh, someone's going to bid it up, you know. But no, they want it for as cheap as possible. So if they can bid last minute for 99 cents, odds are no one else is looking into it for the last 2 minutes.
Right.
So they're going to get it for 99 cents. And then you're out, you know, a $20 pot that you probably paid $2 or $3 for. If not, you found it in your house. Right. I mean, you only got 99 cents for it.
Yeah, and I think that is a great example of what we're trying to teach you guys with this podcast is don't make the same mistake we did.
Absolutely.
You know, you easily could have sold that pot. I think it's a pressure cooker. In a box, I bet you could have got $30, $40 for that thing.
Yeah, probably.
On a buy it now.
Yeah.
And just the thing about buy it now is you have to be patient because you don't know when it'll sell. Remember when we talked about, I think it was episode 1, you're dealing with 180 million buyers. You just don't know when the right person is going to be looking on eBay for that specific item. You just don't know. And so you have to be patient. Now, the auctions are set up, and I agree with you. Things that are hot right now, just hot, and people want it. Or the second thing I think an auction is good for is for an item that I don't want to say rare like some sort of rare diamond, but rare like you've looked it up and you really can't find a lot of information on it, and you just don't have any clue. You've gone onto eBay, you've searched, you can't find anything, and you have a zero clue what dollar amount it should be at. Then maybe you want to consider an auction.
Yeah,
you know, maybe.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because there's nothing to base your price off of. So instead of just throwing something up against the wall and see if it sticks, throw an auction and see what it's worth to people.
Yeah.
And then there's another tactic, and we'll get into these tactics later about pricing. If it's that rare and you really don't know what to put, you can just put this absurd number on it for a buy it now, but you can also set an offer amount. So if you wanted to try to get $180 for your pressure cooker, and I know it probably seems crazy, right? But if it was a rare pressure cooker, you can set your offer amount to $4. So they can offer anything from $4 and more to you. And you can either accept it, you can counter, or you can decline. And what that does is kind of gives you a range of, okay, so this thing's probably only worth about $30 because I keep getting these offers for around $30. You know, I'm obviously not going to get the $150 for it. So then maybe on your next offer, you just take it because, okay, I've gotten 4 offers that have been around $30. So I'm just going to take the $30 offer.
Yeah.
It's a good way of gauging if you have, I don't want to say weird stuff, but in a way, weird and rare and
unique stuff. That
unique.
You
That's
can
a good
only
word.
Find one of.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know? And not necessarily that there is only one of. It's that you can only find one of that's being sold on eBay at that time.
Right.
Or any other site. I prefer eBay. eBay has the most amount of stuff. Like, you can go on Facebook Marketplace and look up some of this stuff, but that's just people trying to get a quick buck. It's not really people trying to sell their stuff for the maximum amount of money that they can make on it. Although some people are trying to sell stuff for
you see that
a
everywhere.
lot of money.
Yeah. I think that we'll kind of get back to pricing. I don't want to get off too far. You know, that's what we do.
Yeah.
It just goes to show kind of the path of figuring out, we'll go back to that revereware, figuring out what kind of price tag. And a lot of it is also, and I don't want to confuse everybody that's listening, but do you sell one pan? Or if you have a whole set, do you sell it as the whole lot? I mean, there's so many different ways of going about it depending on the item that you have. Yeah. Some things sell better in big lots.
Yeah. For example, I had a Hamilton Beach. I still have the Hamilton Beach mixer. I don't know if you remember us having that in the garage sale. I have that. Well, I found the original Hamilton Beach stainless steel bowls that go to it.
Oh, nice.
I didn't know they went hand in hand because I had them separated in the garage, had no clue that they were one thing went to another thing. So I listed the bowls, sold the bowls for $15. Well, I have yet to sell the mixer, and I think I only have $10 on the mixer. If the bowls would have been with the mixer, would I have sold it for $15? Maybe.
Right.
But the bowls sold for, at least $10. I made at least $10 on those bowls as they were separated from the mixer, which is crazy to me, but some people don't want the mixer. They just want the bowls.
Absolutely right. They might have the mixer.
Some people have the mixer.
Yes.
Exactly.
Or vice versa. They have all the bowls. They have all those fittings that go on it, but maybe their motor burned up on their mixer, so they'll want just the mixer. So that's a great example of you think you're doing the right thing by bundling it all together, but there's no guarantee.
Yeah.
I mean, especially I think on these vintage items, like I have an Osterizer blender from the 70s, okay? It's that weird gold yellow color. You guys remember back in the 70s you had that like a harvest gold yellow, and then you had that weird green, pea green color. Well, mine's that gold. I think you have a can opener.
Yeah, still have that.
I want that. Yeah, because, and I've had it listed on my eBay store for quite some time, and I've got quite a few people that have looked at it and stuff like that. But the more research I do, it shows that you're almost better off parting those things out, like taking the picture off or the lid or the blades and the motor, because most people that own and use those mixers need parts, not the whole thing. So it's up in the air. I have not parted it out yet because I wanted to see if I could sell it as the whole unit, as the lot. But it just goes to show that I think a lot of the older things, you're sometimes better off parting it out. Now, I'm not saying for every circumstance. Unless it's a really unique item, then you probably want to keep everything together.
Yeah.
But when it comes to kitchenware, I could see why sometimes you'll make more money on bowls.
Yeah.
And then instead of, you might have only gotten, like you had said, only gotten $15 for the whole thing, but now you got $15 for the bowls.
Yeah.
And you still could end up getting $15, $20 for that head unit.
Yeah.
Because somebody needs a motor.
Exactly.
All right, so we'll just get back to kind of what started this whole episode off was how much do you sell your items for? And the real answer is you have to do your research. There isn't this magic number. There isn't, you put dollar amounts in a hat and you just pick the piece of paper out and say, oh, it's $5 today. You have to look at the item as a whole and whether or not it can be parted out. And I know that sounds confusing to new eBay people. My suggestion, in an effort to keep it easier, would be just to sell everything as a whole. Don't worry about parting it out. That experience, once you start selling things as a whole and you're looking through eBay because you have time to look, you're going to look at it and say, man, I could have got double my money if I would have pieced out, sold just the bowls and then sold just the motor or just the pot and then the lid separately. Because you wouldn't imagine how many people want just the lid to a pan, not the whole set, because they're missing one or the other pieces. I think that it's important that you do your research. That is probably number one, is research.
Yeah,
what do you think?
Absolutely. I had I don't remember what brand it was. I think it was maybe Comet. I think it was Comet double broiler pan. You got a base pan and then like a little saucepan that fits inside.
Oh, yeah, I've seen those.
To boil in boiling water whatever is in that top pan. Well, I didn't know that one went to another. I had no clue they went together. No clue. So I posted the first one, and I didn't have a lid, so I posted, Comet, whatever, pan, no lid. And then I posted the next one, and it was like Comet pan with lid. And then I got looking on eBay, and I was like, what are these double broilers? And I was scrolling through them. So I went on like Wikipedia, I think, and just was like scrolling through some stuff, and I was like, oh, these pans go together. And so I put them together, and it sold the same day for like $25.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
It's crazy how just looking something up and figuring out that it goes together, how much more money it can make you just off of looking it up. I remember when we first moved in, there was that pen. There's that pen, that Schaefer pen, and then a Ronson lighter.
Yes. That gold lighter, right?
I am telling you, we had first moved in, we were all upset because we had to clean this whole house, and there was so much stuff everywhere. So we were trying to find, hopefully to find something that was worth a lot of money. So we could be like, ha, we got money and out of all this stuff you guys left us. We looked up this pen, and the first, 3 things that popped up on Google, because we didn't even use eBay at the time. I was looking it up on Google, actually. And it pulled up, the one pen pulled up for, was it $3,000 or something
money.
Like that. We're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, we're doing the happy dance.
Yeah. And we're all, yelling and screaming, and we, hid the pen so no one would, find it or something like that. And then we found this lighter, and we looked it up, and they were selling for crazy amounts of $14,000 and stuff like that, because they were actual gold lighters. I think the one we have is
gold plated.
Well, I think I sold it.
Oh, good.
But it's just gold plated lighter. So they were selling for $13,000. I mean, we were so excited. Then I actually got into looking into it, and we found serial numbers, and we found model numbers and stuff like that. And the pen, I think, retailed for $40, and I still have it. And then the lighter, I think I ended up selling it for $1.50 or something like that, just getting rid of it. Because I could never find, probably should have done an auction, because I could never find actual information on it.
See, that would have been an auction idea. Yeah.
But it wasn't actual gold. It was too light. It was, when you scratched it, was silver underneath and stuff like that. So I knew it wasn't actual gold.
Well, I mean, that raises a good point that we haven't brought up yet, is model numbers and serial numbers.
Yeah.
Your biggest help in searching for an item and how much you should possibly list it for in that search bar on eBay is use model numbers. Because I'm telling you right now, if you type in, I'm just trying to think, Panasonic, I got a boombox from the flea market. And I know it's a somewhat valuable one. Paid $5 for it. It's in my last video. I got to look through that guy's truck. Mm-hmm. Okay. There are so many different model Panasonic boomboxes. And they range from $400 down to $10. And so this whole time you're like, well, how much is mine worth? How much is mine worth? Flip it over, find that model number. So I found it. It was, I think, an RX-C45, I think is what the number was. So I typed that into the search bar. Okay, now it narrows my search down to the exact boombox that I'm holding in my hand. Yeah. And then it started to range from anywhere from $20 to $200, depending on condition. I think $120 was a pretty average for one that works really well with everything that's there. And it also gives you a breakdown if people have sold parts off of that boombox. Okay, so the speakers were selling for $20 sold. And the reason I knew this is after I typed in Panasonic boombox, put the model number. I'm just going to give you guys numbers. I can't remember exactly what it was. Let's just say there was 3,200 results, search results from that. Then I went to the filter, typed in condition, which a few words down when you hit filter will show condition typically. Now that's if you're using your phone, okay? A computer is a little different, and we can go into that, but a computer is on the left side of the screen, and you got to click the used box.
I think everyone's going to be using
if you're on your phone or a tablet or an iPad, it's going to be under filter, and it'll be under condition. Click on condition, and it'll give you options: new, pre-owned, stuff like that. Well, mine was obviously pre-owned, so I click that, and that changes the search results to a different number, narrows it down some more. Then I went down to completed and sold, which are the numbers that I care about because I know that is what people have paid for that exact boombox that I'm holding in my hand. So I clicked on sold and completed, and I'm just using numbers, and it brought up 1,100 search results. Okay, out of the 3,200, it gives me 1,100. So I was able to search through the first page of sold comps. That's what we call them, sold comps, because you're comparing all the ones that have sold, so sold comps. And I got a really good gauge of how much I'm going to, after I test the boombox, I haven't tested it yet, but a pretty good gauge of what I'm going to list it for when I'm ready. And that's the easiest procedure, way to go about it that I can think of. Type it in the search bar, what you have, what you think you have, and put any model numbers. Now, serial numbers makes it a little kind of weird. Use model numbers. That makes it a lot easier. Don't get too detailed, because the more detailed you are, the likelihood of you not finding a match is there, because most people don't, in their listing page, they don't go through all the little finite details when they sell something. The way eBay's algorithm works, when you type into that search bar, you don't have to have correct punctuation. You don't need to have commas and quotes. You don't have to have those things. It's just looking for a certain range of numbers and letters. If my boombox was silver, you got to be careful, because some people call that gray. Some people call that charcoal. Don't do the color yet.
Yeah.
Just type in Panasonic, because you know that's what it is, because it says it right on the boombox, and then type in the model number. Don't type the word model. Just type in the model number, and don't get pretty with it. Just the way you see it.
I think the best example would be shoes.
Oh, that's a good one.
That would be the best example we could use, is on your tag of your shoes, there's a number.
Mm-hmm.
And type that number in. You don't even have to type anything else in. I mean,
no.
You just type
Say
in
Nikes, for instance.
Nike, whatever the number is,
yep,
and it'll pull up that exact shoe.
And all the shoes are the little numbers located in different spots, and the number is different lengths for different production. Like Nike, I think, is like 5 or 6, then a hash mark, and then 3 numbers. Reebok, I think, is just a series of numbers without the hash mark. And then there's Adidas. I think they go by a style number, which is on the tag. But that's exactly it. All you had to do was type in Nike, that number, and it'll pop up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and and I'm glad you brought that up. I forgot about the shoes.
Those are the best. That's the best example of it, because a lot of your shoes are always going to have that on there. If they're real. I mean, if they're real shoes, they're going to have that on there. If like some of these, sometimes it's hard to find a model number on stuff, and like a lot of your glassware, not going to have one.
Yeah, good luck.
It's not going to say Fenton glass on the bottom of it. It's just a glass, and you have to know what you're looking for. You have to know that it has the pressed line on the side. You have to know that it's a certain thickness. If it's too thin, it's not Fenton. A lot of your glass, or not glassware, but a lot of your pots and pans will have a number, but it's not necessarily a model number.
Yeah, how about cast iron? Talk about cast iron.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that one's a whole... We could do a whole segment on that one.
But I mean, as far as...
There is marked and unmarked, certain types of handles are certain things. So like a Wagner handle will kind of have, it's hard to explain, but it'll kind of have an upside down triangle on the back of it. It'll be at the base of the handle. It kind of looks like the handle itself looks like a T almost, and then there's an upside down triangle on the bottom of it. And it's just, no other company uses it. The size of the oval on the handle of the cast iron. Sometimes they're not marked, and you have to go off of that and what number it is, and the heat ring and stuff like that. So
that's where the research comes into play.
Exactly. We did, when we found our cast irons, remember that we took probably, 2 hours trying to figure out what these things were? Because, I mean, a lot of companies don't have markings on old cast irons. It's just an unmarked whatever.
Right.
We had to decipher based off of how the letter was shaped or how the number was shaped. Because some number 8s look more like a uppercase B. Some look more like 2 circles on top of each other. Mm-hmm. Some look like an actual figure 8. And those are all different companies based off of what their number 8 looks like.
Yep.
And the different spots it could be in. Have you cleaned up your bean pot yet?
No, not yet. I was kind of playing around looking at it.
Your bean pot, once we clean it up, we'll be able to tell exactly what it is. I'm not positive on this. Pretty sure it's a Griswold number, was it 3?
I can't remember now.
3 or 8. 3 or 8 bean pot. Which would be awesome if it is, but if it's not, we'll figure out what it is anyways. Yeah. It's still old cast iron, which is awesome.
Right.
There's so many different types of model numbers, serial numbers, things to look up. Pyrex glassware is a big one. It'll just have a dash, a number, and a dash on most of it. And that's the number you have to look up and hope that you can find it.
Yeah, because like there's still new Pyrex out there.
Yeah.
So you have to know, I think one of the Pyrex that I have listed was a 422. It's just a 422. And that is, I don't remember what size bowl it is, but I'm pretty sure it was a bowl size. And you guys don't put so much pressure on yourself trying to figure all this out at the beginning. What you need to do is find things that you're okay with getting rid of. Don't worry about it. Do some research on it. Don't just throw it on an auction for 99 cents, because I'm here to tell you, Devin's here to tell you, we threw a lot of valuable stuff away because we didn't know. Take the time. It is going to take you a while to list things. It is not a quick procedure. Don't think that you can get it done in 10 minutes. I have been doing this for, today's November or something or other. I've been doing it for 31 days now.
Yeah.
Listing consistently every single day, minimum of 5. Yesterday I did 15 items.
Holy cow.
Yes, and I've gotten it down to about 20 minutes an item. That's pictures, listing it.
That's pretty quick.
That's pretty quick. And I'm starting to get a little better about my pictures, not editing so much. But what I'm trying to say is my first few listings, I was an hour into each one. And I'm like, if I've got to keep doing this, this is not going to be any fun. But here's the thing. It's just because you're new at it. Give it some time. It will not take an hour every single time. And you will start to learn about the different items that you're selling, different items that you're going to go source, or once you get good at doing this, go to flea markets, thrift stores, garage sales. You're going to be able to look at an item. Devin can grab pretty much a cast iron, flip it over, and tell you generally if it's a good one or not.
Yeah.
Now that, because you've been toying with it.
Exactly.
And I think that it's important that you don't get caught up in that research right off the bat, because it's already going to take you an hour to list it. Mm-hmm. Don't spend 5 hours on a pan that you're only going to get $30 for. Mm-hmm. If you're that concerned about it, if you're that worried about it, set it to the side and wait for a day you got nothing going on. Move on to the next one. Get stuff listed. And if you need a price, and that's what we're talking about today, start on eBay. You're using it to list your items. Use eBay as your price, but you have to go to those completed items under the filter, and you have to go to sold items. Those sold comps that is your dictionary, if you will, for listing. Yep. That will tell you everything. And guess what? If you find an item on sold, and here's another trick, a tip for you guys, click on the one that looks exactly like yours. Try to find one that has a higher dollar amount that it's sold for. That's the same thing as what you have. Don't click on one that sold for $5. Click on one that sold for $30. Go to the original listing. It will pop up and say, sorry, this item has sold. Sorry, you missed out. But there's a little blue highlighted area that says see original listing. You can click on that, and it'll take you to the original listing of that person's. And there is a button on the side that you can click or tap on with your finger that says sell item like this. It will take all that information that that person already typed in and put it onto your listing.
Yeah. And same if you're going to list it. I don't know if it's the same way on a phone. I list all mine on a computer.
Okay.
That's how I list mine, is on a computer. If you type it in, and it should pull up on the computer at least, it pulls up items like this. Mm-hmm. And you can actually click on one of those. If you type in Revereware copper bottom 1 quart pan.
Okay.
And 10 people in the last week have posted it. It should pull up at least one of those, and it'll put in all that information. The year it was made, if they've put that in there, type of pan, if it's a saucepan or not. Sometimes eBay asks if it has accessories like spoons and stuff like that.
All the specifics.
And if they put all that in there, it'll automatically fill it for you. So all you have to do now is take your pictures and post your measurements in your description and do your shipping information, and that's it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it even does shipping for you.
Yes.
I've noticed that.
Don't be afraid to use somebody else's listing in your own. There is nothing against the law stating you can't use their information to type in your own. Because it auto-populates the when you go into the specifics like you were talking about. There are, like when you get into clothing, there are so many different lines that you have to fill in. I mean, it goes on and on and on. But if you can find something that's already listed on eBay that has sold, because you can still do that with an item that's listed and not sold. You can still sell item like this. But I always use the sold because there's something about that, what that person did made it sell.
Yeah.
Right? And so I don't pick the cheap one because I'm thinking in my mind, they didn't type something in right or they didn't care about something. That's why they only got $5 for a pot that's worth $30. So I go to the more upper end of the dollar amount range, and I'll use one of theirs to help start my listing. So I will sell item like theirs. And it does take all that nitty gritty like you're talking about, the type of material it's made from, where it was made. Some of the even specifics like height, width, diameter will also populate over into your listing automatically. We don't have to. That is your ultimate time saver. We won't get into pictures today, but as far as typing in your listing, the ultimate time saver is finding somebody else's listing who's just like yours.
And don't get caught up in, I know a lot of glassware, it'll pull up, one of the main three that it pulls up is if it's hand blown, pressed, stuff like that. You're not going to know.
Yeah, I don't know that stuff.
I look at it, and I know what pressed glass looks like now. That's all I know, though. I don't know about anything else. So if you find someone that, I mean, I'm sure someone on eBay who is selling this item knows that it's pressed glass, or knows that it's hand blown, or knows that it's whatever kind of glass it is. Because, I mean, it'll even ask you what kind of glass it is. Like, I don't know what kind of glass it is.
It's glass.
Yeah, it's the kind that breaks. I don't know. That someone does know. And so if you populate, or if you use that and you use it to your advantage when you're posting all this stuff, it'll make yours look 10 times better.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes you look like you know what you're talking about. And if you know what you're talking about, confidence sells.
It does.
Even if you don't know what you're talking about, if you're confident in that answer, it sells. If someone's looking through yours and they see, oh, it's hand-blown blah, blah, blah glass, it's like, they know what they're talking about.
Yeah, this person knows what they have.
He actually cares about what he's trying to sell, and I know it's not going to sell me something that's broken.
Right. And that's not only with glassware, but with electronics and stuff like that. When it comes down to pricing and listing, if your electronics don't work, there is still an area, instead of pre-owned, that you can select parts to where you know it doesn't work, but you can still sell it under a parts category. So you're not misleading people, and that's kind of what you're going into is we're not misleading people into trying to sell. I just got a calculator back, right? It was a Texas Instruments TI-84 Plus, one of those graphing calculators, okay? I picked it up at a garage sale for $10, put battery in its while I was at the garage sale, and it turned on. Everything looked right. Got home, listed it, sold within 5 minutes. I talked about this, I think maybe episode 1 or something.
And in the
YouTube video, Severe Thrifters on YouTube. I had a return. They wanted a refund. And so I went ahead and did it because I'm new. This is my very first refund I've had. And so I just went ahead and refund. I didn't refund the money yet. You don't have to refund it until you get the piece back and you can inspect it. And then you can either refund the total amount or deduct basing off the condition that you sent it and then the condition that you received it back. I turned it on this morning before I came to do the podcast, and it works fine. There's nothing wrong with it. There's just like this hairline scratch on the screen, and that you can only see if you hold the calculator just right in the light and when the calculator's not on. So when it's off is when you notice the light scratch. Now, when you turn the thing on, I turned the graph on. I did all my X, Y, Z axis points. You don't even see the scratch. It's nowhere to be found. But that was the reason why this person wanted a refund, was because I didn't show in my pictures that the screen was scratched. Some people care. Some people don't. And that's why I'm saying this story. When it comes down to glassware, if there's a chip that you didn't see, some people will care and some people won't. A pan. I've heard stories about, you told me I was getting a good clean pan. This looks like it's been cooked in. Well, yes, this was a Reselling that's been around since 1950.
Yeah, exactly. It's a cast iron from 1920.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you mean? Yeah, it's been cooked in a few times.
And so some people will care and some people won't. And you're going to deal with this. So don't base your pricing necessarily over the condition that you think it's in.
Yeah.
Go on eBay, type it in, get your low and high numbers, and try it when you're starting out. Try to be somewhere in between there. Don't be the lowest. Don't do that. Don't be the low ball, because you're not going to make yourself any money. If you want to do this, if you want to sell quickly, like you need money today, eBay's not it.
No.
You need to go have a garage sale. You need to go to a pawn shop. You need to go down to the flea market on the weekend and just get rid of your crap.
If you want money on If you start on Monday and you want money on Friday, you can do it on eBay.
Yeah.
You can get some quick money on eBay. Not next day, but by the end of the week or by the end of the month especially, you'll have a pretty good lump sum of money in there.
Yeah, patience is a virtue. It really is on eBay. I don't want anybody to think that once you figure out these listings and how much you can sell everything for, that you're going to get rich within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. It takes time. I have been doing it for 30-some days now, and I have my gross sales just popped up today, and I'm at $2,800 in gross sales, which I'm thrilled about that.
No,
now, that doesn't mean that's $2,800 in my pocket, but I still have eBay fees that come out of that, shipping. But I'm happy about it because that's 30 days of me being brand new to this.
Yeah.
Now, that's a good story. I know there's people that have made more, and I know there's people that have been doing it for 3 months and are struggling to make $500.
Yeah.
A lot of it goes down to your research and how much you price things for. And we talked about this, and we'll talk about it in another episode, photography.
Yeah.
You know? And so I don't want you guys to think because you pick up a cast iron pan and it's pitted that all of a sudden it's only worth $5.
People, that brings me on to exactly what I was just thinking about. It's like you read my mind there for a second. People want these pans not to cook in. People don't want cast iron to cook in. Some people do. Most people who want cast iron to cook in have cast iron to cook in.
Right.
They've got them from their grandma and grandpa, their great-grandma and grandpa. They found one in their house. They already have cast iron to cook in. They want it to fill their collection. There are cast iron pans that are extremely rare that people don't have. I mean, there's a guy on YouTube. I can't remember his name, but all he does is cast iron. And he's even got pans that he will buy a pan that's pitted or rusted or damaged just to hold its place until he can find a pan that he's willing to spend $600 on to replace it with, so it looks good. It's nice and clean. If he wanted to cook in it, he could. There's no damage to it. It's not pitted or anything like that. So it's not worth $5. You could still get $40-$50 for a pitted cast iron. Now, if it's extremely bad to where you probably can't even do anything with it, maybe not. But if you have like a Griswold, I think it was like a number 3, was like the really rare one. It's selling for like $400 on eBay. If you have one of those laying around and it has some damage in it, it's got a little chip in the side or something like that, you can still sell it for a good amount of money. It's not worth $5 because there's a chip in it. Don't let anyone tell you that either, because it's people buy them because they need them for their collection. They need them. It's not that they want them, it's that they need them for their collection.
That's a good point.
These people are buying cast irons. They're willing to spend hundreds of dollars on cast iron. They probably got thousands of dollars in all of their cast iron together because they need it to fill their collection. They want to have the old 1920 Wagner number 1 to number 10 skillet. That's what they want. They want the 1 through 10. They want all of them.
Makes sense.
The entire collection.
Me and my ball jars.
Exactly.
Yep, I hear you.
You want the entire collection. Mm-hmm. And that's what people want.
And if that means they've got to purchase one right now to fill their collection that's kind of in crappy condition, they'll still pay up for it because they know they want that number. Mm-hmm. And I think we could carry this on through clothing because there's different styles that people want. There's clothing lines, shoes that people collect, like big time Jordans. We'll just go with Jordans because everybody knows what Air Jordan tennis shoes are. You don't think for a second just because you have a rare pair of Air Jordans that are a little worn because they were from back in the early 80s, you have to understand it's going to have wear. It's old.
Yeah.
If it were museum quality, odds are you and I aren't going to own it.
Exactly.
I'm not going to put it on eBay if I own a museum quality pair of Air Jordans.
It's going to be in a museum.
It's going to be in a museum.
Yeah.
So your item is not going to be perfect. 85% of eBay buyers understand that. But the other 15% are going to be jerks about it.
Yeah.
They want something perfect, pristine. They want it for the cheapest possible price, and they want it shipped tomorrow, all wrapped up and with packing peanuts in 12 boxes so it can't get damaged. I've had one of these already.
Oh, me too.
Oh, ship it ASAP and make sure you wrap it. And it's like, it took you 12 days to pay me, but all of a sudden I've got a rush.
Yeah.
So the reason I'm bringing this up is you guys are not going to please everybody.
No.
Take your crap. Because honestly, if it's stuff you don't need at your house or don't want, then it's crap to you. Let it be a treasure for somebody else.
Yep.
It's okay to get rid of things.
And going back to the the shipping thing, if you have glassware, obviously you want to protect it, but you don't have to go to the greatest of lengths to make sure it doesn't break. If it's going to break, it's going to break. I mean, most of this old glass is so thick. It's so durable
Pyrex.
where it's not going to break. I had a green Fiesta ware bowl. And, I mean, when I say probably about a quarter to half an inch thick, that's about how thick the glass is itself. And that's thick enough to where if you dropped it on concrete, it might chip the concrete. Like, it's not going to break the dish. So the glass is going to be fine. I put it in a box. I put foam around it. You remember that foam that we had?
Yeah.
I put it on the bottom and on the top, shipped it. The guy left me a 5-star, whatever, great job,
feedback,
whatever.
Yeah.
But he was like, next time, ship it and wrap it up more, make it more protective. And I'm like, it came all in one piece. I put it in a box with foam.
What more do you want?
What more can I do? I mean, literally, I would have to put it in packing. That would be the most I could do to it. And that's too much. I'm not going to spend $10 on packing peanuts, a box, foam to put around it to get my dollar fit. He actually bought it for $2. I'm not going to go through the greatest of lengths and spend $10 on shipping something that someone bought for $2. I'm not going to do it.
No, it's a good point that you bring that up because, and we'll base it just off because for these new eBay sellers, people that want to get rid of stuff or want to try to do this as a career, when you're first starting out, odds are the stuff you're selling is going to be on the cheaper range. It's not going to be high dollar stuff. Don't spend $20 in packaging materials to send a $2 item because here's the thing. If it gets there and it's broken, you refund the $2 in shipping. Yeah. You just spent $20 in packing supplies for no reason whatsoever. Don't be so hard up about. My biggest worry is when I'm either a movie, electronics, is keeping it dry.
Yeah.
Because you know what? I have gotten packages that the box was soaked. Mm-hmm. And USPS will take a bag and put a plastic bag around it. We got one the other day, and they hand it to you. The box is soaked, but their way of dealing with it is they put a clear plastic bag around it and hand it to you soaked anyways. And that's how we got it. It was soaked. And one of the bottles, it was a girl's like shampoo type stuff, was half open, had dumped all out. And that's how they hand it to you. It's like, here, you deal with it. They are going to kick your box around. They're going to kick your bag around. The best thing you could do is protect it from rain because it's going to sit out. That's another episode.
Yeah, it is.
It is, right?
Yeah. Oh,
shipping.
Absolutely.
Shipping and packaging.
I think next episode we'll probably talk about photos.
Yeah, we'll do photos next.
Because that'll once the photos are done,
listing.
You are listed.
Yep.
You're good to go.
So we're just going to do a quick recap before we jet on out of here. Pricing. Go to eBay. Type in the search bar exactly what you have, but don't get too precise. Just if you have a gray t-shirt, just do gray t-shirt. Don't worry about hyphens. Don't worry about how your spelling is. Just get it in there. And if you have a model number, use a model number. Mm-hmm. And then click search.
And don't go for the lowest of low. Make sure it's middle of the line.
Yep. You'll go to filter, go to completed items and sold items. Typically, you got to scroll down a little bit to see those. That's more towards the bottom of your filter items or whatever you want to call those. So you'll want to definitely hit sold and completed. And that will give you the range within the last 6 months, 30 days, all depends on what they pull up for you, of things that have sold of that same item and how much those people had received for it. Now, real quick before we get off, you're going to see some numbers that have like a hash mark all the way through it. It'll show sold, and the item will have the dollar amount that it sold for, but then it's got like a green line all the way through it. What that is, it's a buy it now. Somebody gave them an offer of lower, and then that buy or the seller accepted the offer. Yeah. So don't be spooked by that. But if they're asking $100 and it's wiped clean, it has a hash mark through it, and all the other items that are listed on that same page all sold for $50, odds are the offer was around $50. Yep. So just because it's crossed out doesn't mean that was the value of that item. So be looking at that as well. So search it, sold comps we call it. So you go sold, and you guys are ready to start pricing. And just, hey, guess what? Start high because you can always bring it back down. If you start too low, it's hard to raise that price.
That's true.
And for people to find value in it. So start a little high. It's okay if you got to come down. So with that, I think we're going to sign off. We've talked about a lot today. We kind of went off on a couple different tangents, but it's okay. Hopefully you guys get the gist of pricing for your eBay items. Forward to seeing you on the next one. I'm John.
I'm Devin.
And we're the Severe Thrifters. See ya.